Senator Warren.
Thank you very much, Senator Stabenow, and thank you again for convening this hearing. Thank you all for being here. The right to vote is under attack in this country, and since the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, voter suppression efforts have sharply accelerated. These new barriers are designed to shut out African Americans, Latinos, the elderly, students, and any other targeted groups, just to get them out of the democratic process. That is alarming enough, but now instead of protecting voters from voter suppression, the President of the United States is using the power of his office to advance voter suppression. Donald Trump lost the popular vote by nearly 3 million votes. He is president only because of the rules of the Electoral College, and he's pretty sensitive about that. And he has struck back with the claim that he lost the popular vote only because millions of people voted illegally. Now, Ms. Tennant, you served as the Secretary of State of West Virginia, administering elections. You currently lead state advocacy work for the Brennan Center, which examines these issues. Is there any evidence to back up the president's claim that millions of people voted illegally?
No.
Okay.
And I don't mean to be flippant about that, but
that's an answer.
When those claims came about, the Brennan Center was on almost immediately and issued a report called Non-Citizen Voting, the Missing Millions, where they analyzed information from the local election administrators. They went down into those who were administering the elections and were able to debunk the claims.
Okay, so you've looked at the data. Let me ask you a different question. According to our best available data on this, how prevalent is the phenomenon of individuals engaging in voting fraud?
It is rare. And when you look at a consensus of reports, investigations, not just from the Brennan Center, but other organizations and other advocates as well, you see that that rate of illegal voting is extremely rare.
So let me ask you, what is more probable? Someone engaging in voter fraud or someone getting struck by lightning?
This is a fact that the Brennan Center put out. So you must follow us on Twitter like the Reverend does.
You bet.
Being struck by lightning.
Being struck by lightning. Okay, I just want to be clear on this. So there are no facts to back up the president's claim. So the president decided to establish a commission to study voter fraud, a commission that seems entirely focused on promoting and justifying state-level voter suppression. So I just want to ask a little bit about those state-level efforts. Ms. Eiffel, since 2010, how many states have passed laws to make it harder for citizens to vote?
20.
20. And have any states advanced voting laws that are so aggressively illegal and discriminatory that they have been invalidated by federal courts?
Oh, many, and just, since 2014, 10 of those decisions have been ones in which federal courts, including some of the most conservative federal courts in this country, have found that states or local jurisdictions intentionally enacted laws for the purpose of discriminating against African American and Latino voters.
So they found actual intent.
Intentional discrimination.
Intentional discrimination. Ms. Gupta, the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice is supposed to police unconstitutional efforts to suppress the vote. Has the Trump administration's Civil Rights Division demonstrated that it takes the problem of voter suppression seriously?
It has taken unprecedented action to reverse longstanding positions that career lawyers were litigating to establish just how voter suppression laws were working and that they were racially discriminatory. So in fact, in a number of cases, including obviously the Texas ID case, which I've discussed, but also in the Husted case, have actually reversed positions that were aimed at really proving, according to a deep factual record, to stop voter suppression, the existence of voter suppression in the enactment of those laws. So in fact, it would be the opposite.
So the Department of Justice has moved in exactly the opposite direction on voter suppression. Instead of protecting voters, they're helping the states in terms of suppressing the vote.
That appears to be the case, and there's a lot of concern now about June letter that they sent out on trying to get information from states about national voter registration, voter purging efforts. And so we are anticipating more along those lines as well.
Okay. You know, more and more Americans are worried about widespread voter fraud, and I don't blame them. The idea of widespread, coordinated effort to steal elections is really scary, and it is totally made up. But when the President of the United States uses his bullhorn to advance this theory, then a lot of people start to pay attention to it. And I'll be blunt, I don't expect the president to change. I don't expect Jeff Sessions, who has made a career out of undermining civil rights protections, to change. But they are not the only public officials in this country. 11 years ago, the Senate passed the Voting Rights Act by a vote of 98-0. And it is time for public officials at every level of government to start leading again on this issue. You know, if we care about bringing this country together, then all Americans must have an equal vote in our democracy. And that means we could pass a new Voting Rights Advancement Act and other bills to protect the right to vote. We could conduct oversight over the Department of Justice, specifically the Civil Rights Division, and make sure they're enforcing our voting laws. We should be doing everything we can to avoid giving legitimacy to the president's sham Election Integrity Commission. So we've got work to do on our side, too, to make sure that America understands the problem in this country is voter suppression. Thank you, Madam Chairman.